Okay. Hello. We are a bit late, and that's because just another day in the Twitter Spaces world. But I do react anything if you can hear me. Uh, I hope you can hear me. Oh yeah. So we already have Ashwin and Bill. Uh, will I'll also invite Bill over to the stage. We are on a new Twitter Space link than the one generated, since it's just another day with Twitter Spaces, as Ashwin and I were just talking, just another day with all these Twitter Spaces bugs. But yeah, now we have a proper Twitter Space working for some reason that couldn't happen earlier. So we are in this new link. So so Ashwin is already here, and I'll not take any further of the time, and let's get straight onto the topic. I was thinking maybe we could start out with introductions from the panelists over here. So we'll have Ashwin, Bill, and Siddharth. I'll start out since Bill is yet to accept the invite. I'll start out with Ashwin. So Ashwin, can you talk a bit about yourself, especially your journey with community conferences and how they have
Yeah,
helped you a
sure.
bit?
First, a quick mic check. I guess you should be able to hear me.
Yep.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. How are you doing? My name is Ashwin Kumar Uppala. I am a final year engineering student from Hyderabad. Currently an MLH coach. I'm actually right now in Delhi coaching a hackathon called Hack the Mountains at the moment. Talking about my journey of conferences, I started my journey this exact year, and it's been quite interesting. To be honest, okay. So the thing is, Siddharth is with me right here, and to avoid echo, I'm just moving as far joined us too. Awesome. I can see Siddharth is waving at me. Anyway, so my journey in conferences has been quite interesting. Given that I have never been a public speaker at that scale, I just applied. That's it. I did not had anything in mind that what will happen after I apply. So I just applied, and when I got in after few tries, there was no turning back. How I did it and what I did, we'll talk that as the space go. But to give you what I have done in the past uh, 10 months, I have applied to around 7 CFPs and have got 5 of them accepted as of now.
That's really awesome. Yeah, huge congrats for that, and that's it's pretty nice to know your love for communities. Next up, I'll ask Siddharth, who is also one of the panelists, to talk a bit about himself. And I also know Siddharth has been doing some great work with Hack This Fall. I had attended some of those events. So, Siddharth, also, could you talk a bit about community conferences from Hack This Fall perspective?
Sure. Hey everyone. I hope you all are doing well. Thanks a lot, Rishit, for having me in this space. I have been like quite looking forward to this particular topic, and conferences have been something which has been like very close because uh, I would definitely share more of my journey instead, in later part of the space. But to start with, I would just start with my introduction. So yes, I'm joining in from currently I'm joining in from Faridabad as same as Ashwin, but I'm based out of Vadodara, India, and I have been working as a DevRel engineer at Storyblock, which is a headless CMS. I am also an MLH coach. I am a GitHub field expert. I've been hosting GitHub field days here in India. uh, Last year I hosted the virtual one. This year I've hosted like two in person. We also have Vaishnavi here in the audience, my fellow field expert from the region. So shout out to her as well. And yeah, I've been like involved with conferences since quite a while. It has been like mixed kind of a thing, conferences as well as unconferences related to community, tech, open source, and various other stuffs. So yeah, looking forward to talk about the same as well. And thanks, Rashid, for the shout out to Hack This Pod.
Sure, that's awesome to know. I'll probably have more questions about unconferences for you later. But now, Bill, would you like to go next and also tell us about what Kubernetes Community Days is?
Yeah, sorry, my microphone wasn't unmuting. Yeah, I'm happy to go next. So I'm Bill Mulligan, and I have done various things throughout the cloud native community, from business development, sales, marketing to community development, and also like program management. And what I do now is I work on the Cilium and eBPF communities at Isovalent around cloud native networking, observability, and security. And in my previous role, I was working at the Cloud Native Computing Foundation, helping run some of the community programs there. And one of the programs that I ran was the Kubernetes Community Days. And so, kind of during the pandemic, we relaunched that as a virtual events program, and now there's a lot of in-person ones happening all around the world. And if you aren't familiar with the Kubernetes Community Day, they're local community conferences meant to bring together adopters and users of cloud native technologies. So things like Kubernetes, Prometheus, Envoy, Cilium, to talk about and learn and engage from each other. And these are hosted in local communities, and they're ones all around the world in all different languages too. So in 2021, we had 15 different programs in 7 different languages with over 7,000 people attending. And now it's only grown this year. In fact, there is just a couple even in the last couple of weeks. So one was KCD London and another one's KCD Munich.
That is awesome to know. I was actually, so Shiva and me, who's also in the audience, we actually spoke at a KCD this year, and it was an awesome experience. Looking forward to the next ones, and also the eBPF summit, of course. So with that, I'll go on and ask the first question. Bill, would you like to tell us a bit about what was your first tech conference, and why did you even attend it?
Ooh, that's actually a good question. I'm actually not sure if I know precisely what my first tech conference was. So at my first job, I was working at a 4-person startup that was trying to build a machine learning platform on Kubernetes. And they sent me to San Francisco for a couple months to be in an accelerator program. We went to a couple of conferences during that time, but I don't actually remember which one was my first tech conference. I think it was a smaller local one, kind of organized by one of the companies in our area, and we attended that. And then I would say like my first like big tech conference that I attended was the conference from NVIDIA. And that's like their big conference down in San Jose that they do every single year because we were in the machine learning space. So it was, a crazy experience because all of a sudden you're walking into this exhibition hall that has, I don't know, 200 different vendors and exhibitions, and you're trying to understand what all is going on in the space too. But yeah, so that was probably my first couple tech conferences. And the reason
That's nice to know.
Oh yeah. The reason that I weren't is I was working in sales then, so I was trying to give demos of our products.
Got you. That's nice to know. The first tech conference. And next up to Siddharth. Siddharth, you have been to multiple field days and a ton of other events. So, what is your usual motivation to go to all of these conferences? And when attendees or anyone on the space would want to go to a conference, what should they have in mind? What can they expect in general from community conferences?
Yep, that's a great question. I would say, for personally for me, it has been like the motive has been like changing for every conferences I've been to. For let's say, when I started as an attendee, of course, when I was in my freshman year, and it was more of like exploring different things, understanding what is there out, and what's something which I can grab and go ahead with. So it was more of like kind of an exploration phase, where I was just kind of understanding what is around me, what I can explore, where I can, put my hands and legs into, and just experiment with myself. So that was like one of the things I used to do a lot earlier when I used to just attend the conferences. Later with time, I realized that there's after learning for a while, I realized that, oh, this I could even build on top of what I have learned and share my experiences with others, ask a lot of questions, and this way what happens is that at a conference you get to meet people from different backgrounds and experiences, so everyone has something unique which they bring to the table. And when you discuss those thoughts, maybe some of the situations where you're stuck in, and any questions which you have up in your mind, when you ask those questions, and you start getting different perspectives from people, because multiple people have come across a similar situation and have gotten the solution in different ways, right? And when you start interacting with people meaningfully and start understanding what has their journey been like, you you get to know about those unfolded situational answers, or possible solution to your problems, and you feel like, oh, this is something super interesting. I might have never imagined that this problem could have been solved in this way. So just interacting and asking right questions at such conferences gives you a different perspective around the problem you have been wondering around. So that has been another phase where you ask a lot of questions and get your problem solved, or at the same time share your experiences with others. Third thing would be for more around networking with people, growing your network, having those valuable conversation, making those meaningful connections, with people in tech, with people in your interest, group, and just grabbing some opportunities for yourself with that interaction. That is something I feel very important, because I feel in my entire journey, uh, networking has helped me a lot, and major part of it has come from such events, tech conferences as well. Because when I go to conference, I make sure that I make most out of it, and because I personally I love interacting with people, so I make sure that I go to each and every person in the room and just start that conversation. Talk about me, or learn more about themselves, what has been their journey, because I feel like it's really very important for one to learn from others' experiences, and especially from others' mistake, because that helps a lot. Because there's a lot of resources online, there's a lot of content online, you can learn endlessly, but the thing which you can learn from others experiences is something very different, and you can't get it from any online blog or tutorial or video, right? So I feel that that comes from that one-on-one conversation which you do. And of course this has been like from the attendee perspective, but I've also volunteered and helped organize, and even organize personally, different conferences around conferences and meetups. So that is a different journey and learning altogether. You get to understand the other side of the table. So yeah, I would say, like, for anyone who is looking to get started with attending conferences, or just volunteering at some, or organizing their own, just go ahead and do it. And it's all fun, and of course there's a lot to learn, and there will be a journey which we'll go through. So yeah, pretty much.
That is very insightful, and I was just thinking, why haven't we arrived on the topic of hallway track when you talked about the infamous hallway track? That is definitely the highlight of in-person conferences, the networking you get to do with others, learn about their experiences, and you might just explore something entirely new. That's nice to know. So for the next question, I have it for Ashwin. And one of the things Ashwin started out with was actually saying that he had a couple of CFPs accepted. Both of us and a couple of others on the space will also be speaking at KubeCon. So looking forward to see you all there, and looking forward to see Ashwin there too. But the question to Ashwin is, why should people think about speaking at conferences? Uh, should they have a mindset to share information, or why should they even do that? Why have you thought it is rewarding, or yeah?
That's a really great question. One of the most common misconception among beginners, me being a beginner myself, I used to think like that is the speakers are extremely good at what they are. That's not entirely true. Imagine it like this: there is a thought that you have, could be about open source, could be about whatever domain you're thinking, and you really want to share it with your friend. Okay, it's very unique, nobody has talked about it, and you really want to share it with your friend. That feeling can be a really good CFP. A really good blog can be a really good CFP. A lot of my thoughts that I wanted to write as blogs ended up as CFP and ended up being accepted in CFPs. That means if you just think of a problem in a certain way, that is a really good way to let other people know. And submitting a CFP is just a means that you get a platform to showcase your idea to more people. They don't judge you based on how much deep you know. uh if you see the mostly the CFPs ask for an abstract, that what you're going to talk about, not exactly what you're going to talk about. So they don't really want what you're going to talk about. You can talk whatever you want, they just want the gist, that is this something everyone should know. And that doesn't have to be technical, that doesn't have to be an expertise in a certain domain. It is good if you have that, but if you don't, it does not mean you're not qualified for to submit a CFP. uh, I have submitted a ton of CFP. I know Shivay in the chat. Yesterday, I came to know he had submitted so many CFPs in the last 1 month, and you keep getting rejected. That's all right. It's just like any other conversation. You keep having questions and you keep asking questions, and one of them gets a really good question, which everyone should know. So if you feel like there is certain technology that you think about it a certain way, or there's some problem that you cannot find in Google, you cannot find it in GitHub, you ask people, you find that okay, this is a very unique problem that I need to talk about. That's a really good CFP, and anyone can submit a CFP like that. So yeah, I would highly encourage beginners to submit CFP, because imagine this: if there is a conference full of all experts, how a beginner will understand it? So if there's a proper demographic of expert and intermediate and beginner level talks, then it becomes a very welcoming and inclusive conference for everyone. So that is why, if you're a beginner, if you feel like you don't know enough about some technology, could be cloud native, could be open source, apply anywhere, apply what you know. If you get rejected, at least you know where you stand, right? And if you get accepted, you know you're doing it the right way.
Those are definitely some points I definitely resonate with. I haven't probably been the best in machine learning. That's usually what I do, and I still give talks about it because I think I have some nice ideas to share. And even the talks I'm about to give, I might not be the best in all of those tech stacks, but it's definitely important to apply. And yeah, those are definitely some great points. And I would also like to bring back something Siddharth said, which is about asking the right question. So I think like a lot of the hallway track, asking the right questions to other people in the hallway track can become your next CFE, just like we were talking about. So that is another really nice aspect, I think, of the conferences and the networking part. Actually, the one of the talks I'm about to give now at KubeCon uh, actually started from uh, asking a question to someone at KubeCon Europe, and we started working on it, and we thought more about it, and we ended up at KubeCon North America, giving a talk at KubeCon North America. So kind of really puts the whole conference picture together. So the next question is for Bill. So, Bill, I would also like to ask you. You have been to many conferences, and I would like to ask you, how do you make most out of a conference? Do you just go and listen to the talks? Do you do something else? What frameworks you follow? Any tips you would want to give? Probably the others who are attending their first conference.
Yeah, sure. So I guess I've experienced conferences in a couple different ways. So one is attendees, second is a booth staff, Also, I've been a speaker too. And I would say it's probably changed what I do at conferences, who I'm attending as, and like what my goal is out of the conference. So what I actually do now is I basically don't attend any talks. At the most recent KubeCon in Valencia, I actually only went to one talk, and that was mine. The rest of the time, I was talking to people either at the Cilium booth or people that I knew before and had set up meetings going into KubeCon. And that's how I found getting the most time out of it. Though it's going to be a bit different for a first-time person if you don't know anybody and maybe you don't have any specific jobs at the conference. So I guess the two areas that I really like to hang out the most in are ways that I can learn really fast and learn a lot of like the sentiment. So one is if you're attending as like a vendor would be to go and sign up for sessions at your booth to work as the booth staff. And I use this kind of in two different ways. So one is to, kind of like meet and greet my colleagues, but also to learn from them too. So I've found that most of the companies that I'm working at, I don't have a technical background. So I learn a lot of what I know about technology by talking with other people or listening to how they explain things. And so I like working at the booth because I get to hear my colleagues explain our product or our technology over and over again, and I can understand how other people are pitching it or what questions people have about it and what are common concerns or things that they're excited about. So it helps you understand your own product better. The other thing about working at a booth is you get a lot of like user and customer feedback and engagement and interaction. So you do get that sense of what's the most important thing, what do people care about, what do people not care about, and what should you be focusing on coming up. I think that's kind of the great thing about a conference is that you can get so much feedback in such a short space of time, rather than having, I don't know, one or two meetings a day. You can suddenly have like 10, 20, 30, maybe even 40 different conversations over the course of a single day of a conference. And that just really accelerates your feedback cycle, which is really helpful. The other thing that I like to do at conferences is definitely walk around the vendor expo hall. And I do this to get a sense of like, what are the themes people are talking about? What do people think is resonating the most with their customers? How are people trying to like pitch their products? And I think it gives you a good sense of what's going on in the community, what the biggest concerns of the customers are, and what the biggest concerns of all the vendors are too. And go around and talking to people at different booths to understand what they're concerned about and what they want to do. And then once you kind of have been to some conferences or know some people, it's always great to set up time to chat with other people. Like living in Berlin, not everybody is based out of there. So I think conferences are also a great time to meet people in person. So if you know somebody that's going to going, ask them to like meet with you at a conference. I've actually met a whole bunch of people that have either I reached out to or that they've reached out to me and be like, hey, I saw that you're going to be at this conference too. Like, would you mind having a chat with me? So if there's someone you want to learn more about, or say you're going to be applying for a company and you see that someone from that company is going to be a speaker, I'd encourage you, like, hey, why not reach out to them and ask them like, hey, would you have a chat with me about the company, your technology, your products, so that you can get a better understanding and be ready for any interviews or other things that you have. It's also really nice to finally meet people in person too. That's what I really enjoy about it. So for me, conferences are really about engaging with people in person and getting a lot of feedback and information and like community sentiment in a short amount of time.
Okay, is it just me that Rishit went mute, or is it my Twitter space? I mean, give a reaction if you
Oh,
really cannot.
am I audible now?
Oh, yeah, you're audible now. You're back. Welcome back.
Two test races, I guess. I was just saying, like, Bill raised some really nice points, and I actually do this a lot myself as well. Just go to people and say, "Can we meet at this conference? We are both going to." Whom I draw a lot of inspiration from, and often the answer is yes, and I end up having a nice time. So, learning a lot. So, I definitely would second everything that Bill said. We also have a couple of raised hands from the audience, and we'll also hear their perspectives. But before that, I think Ashwin had raised the hand. So, Ashwin, would you like to talk more about this?
Yeah, I want to add more on when you asked making most out of a conference. Um, One of the normal things that you do to conferences, attend talks, uh, make most out of the events, network with people. All great, all cool. You're doing great, but I believe once you go to one international conference, it is good enough to network with people. Uh Once you become like once you go to a conference, you're not a beginner anymore, right? And after that, what I personally do uh is throw myself to talks that the technology that I don't understand but I wanna. I think we all have that technology that we really want to learn, but we just can't because of many reasons. Maybe it is overwhelming, maybe you cannot get the motivation, maybe it's very difficult to get out of the comfort zone at home. A lot of things can be here, but at conference you get the chance to put yourself in that room where someone is talking about the technology, someone who has the answers to your question. That is the best chance, and I do it a lot. I make sure that I put myself in a talk or in a couple of talks in technologies that I don't know. In Open Source Summit, I have been waiting to learn about cloud native technology, but I couldn't. It is overwhelming. So I just put myself in talks of Docker. And when I came out, I am not an expert. I don't understand a lot of stuff, but I know where I stand now. And I had a lot of things cleared out of that talk. At least now I can take the second step because I already took the first step. And it is usually the first step that is the hardest. And conference can really help you take that. So uh, call it under the segment of exploration, but we are always growing. And if you really feel like you have been trying to learn some technology and you couldn't apply for that conference which has that technology, go to talks. It's okay, you don't understand. That is the whole point. Just listen to it. Chances are you won't understand it immediately, but it really really helps. When I attended my first conference, that was KubeCon 2020, I had no idea what's happening. No idea. I don't even understand what's happening with the platform. It took me one whole conference to understand how the platform works. And in the next year, I understood the platform, but still had no idea what's happening in talks. I just listening to them with no idea whatsoever. A couple of Google searches to get some context, still not enough. And the very next year, I'm going to talk in Detroit at KubeCon. So, and I've been really wanting to do that. I wanted to get into cloud native. It was overwhelming for me. All I did is just throw myself into those talks, even though I don't understand it. What's the worst that will happen, right? So conferences are a great way if you want to learn something that you have been wanting to but you couldn't. And I see it's very natural for us to go to that room where relatable talks are happening. I do it myself a lot. I want to attend a talk which is under community management or leadership or a student talk, but I already know about it, and chances of my growth in that talk is much less than something which I'm unfamiliar with, but it is also I really want it. So yeah, if you know something about a topic, the chances are you will take away less if you attend the same category of talks over and over again.
Awesome. I totally resonate with that as well. You should definitely try to explore something new, and conferences are a nice way to do that. So another question. Oh, and by the way, I mean, feel free to put any questions you have in the chat icon you'll see on Twitter Spaces, or even or even just ask to be a speaker if you want to share something or ask something over here. I mean, just request to be a speaker. Yeah, that's as simple. The next question is from Siddharth, and this is much on a tangent to what we are discussing until now. We talked a lot about attending conferences, a bit about speaking at conferences, and got some really nice insights. But Siddharth, could you shed some light on what are unconferences, and also a bit about uh, is the organizing experience of a conference? How is that different, and also a bit about unconference?
Sure. So basically, whenever we talk about conferences, we do have this specific thing in our mind that okay, that we are going to attend kind of an event where there will be some professional speakers joining in, and there will be a huge room, and we'll be sitting, and listening to those sessions, and there'll be like different companies joining in at the venue. So this is like the kind of most of the have on right, especially for someone who's just getting started or who is just getting to understand what a conference is. While on the opposite side, an unconference is something totally different. When we talk about unconference, it's a audience driven event. Like unlike conferences, in unconferences the audience decide what kind of conversation needs to happen. They are the conversation leaders at that point. There's no a specific speaker who is continuously speaking and the audience is listening. At an unconference, everyone has the right to speak and everyone has the right to listen. So it's more of like uh, not one to many, but many to many. So conference is about one to many, where people come onto the stage, talk about stuffs, and the audience sitting in front of them listens. Whereas in a conference, everyone speaks, everyone's listening, and they bring up the topic. It's not pre-decided. They all come together, brainstorm, ask, answer, or whatever kind of activities they want to do, and it's all about themselves. It's all about the audience rather than focusing on any single person or any single technology or a company. It's about the audience at an unconference. I have been able to host unconferences, which is field day. So the field days, GitHub field days are the unconferences for student tech community leaders or any community leaders out there, or someone who is looking or an aspiring, community leader. So it's an unconference for them. So what happens is that usually for all the community builders out there, they are super busy building their own communities that they don't get time to talk with other community leaders, right? So Field Days is a platform where all such like-minded community leaders or aspiring leaders can come together at a single platform and talk about their shared struggles, what their experiences have been, what something new they are coming up with, or anything else as well, around whatever their expertise are in. So with Field Days, what I personally got involved with was last year as a campus expert, GitHub campus expert. I helped hosting, the virtual GitHub Field Day here in India. And this year I got promoted as a GitHub field expert from India region, and I get to host two field days in person. That too, one in Delhi and one in Bangalore, along with my fellow field experts. So of course the experience has been good. What happens is that you of course there's like kind of a systematic agenda which goes through whenever we discuss about conferences, that there will be speakers, there will be panels, there will be workshops, sponsor talks, office hours, and such things. But when it comes to unconference, it's very much open and very much informal. It's like very fun kind of an atmosphere where we all have so much of freedom to talk about our experiences and the struggles we have been through and how we can overcome that. So as I was speaking earlier, we get to interact with people and understand their perspective of a particular situation. So this way there might be community leaders who might have faced similar situations, so we can just explore what kind of solution they have been coming up with. So that is all of these, which makes it different. And it's also like, very new concept, especially coming in India. you know uh, there have been like many influences around this word, which is unconference, that this is everything. No, it's not. So while tech meetups or tech oriented meetups are important, while conferences are important, there's also a small portion where unconferences should also be, added, because not every time everyone comes up and speak up freely. So for all of those who are hesitant in speaking, for all of those who want to get started, for all such people who are ready to do something but are waiting for the opportunity, maybe this can be a right thing for you. Go ahead and speak up. This is a platform where you can just be who you are and share what you want to. Do not need to be afraid of anything else as well, because it's like very open kind of an atmosphere, and it's very welcoming, because everyone is here to listen to what you have to say. Everyone is here to support you with whatever struggle you have been through, and guide you with to come out of that. So yeah, and ev- all of these happens in a very subtle and fun and informal way. There are games, there are activities, and a lot of other things as well. Of course, sometimes it starts with a keynote to set the tone for the rest of the event. Sometimes it just starts with some good and fun icebreakers. And yeah, pretty much about it. But I feel that there's still a lot of scope around on conferences. It could have, you know, we can definitely improvise it a lot. And see, the thing is that everything can be improved. We all can become better version of ourselves. We just need to gather the feedbacks and work on it. So be it a person or an event or an unconference or a conference, there's always chance of improvising. So I'm quite looking forward to the journey ahead, especially around unconferences, how we understand that perspective and how we mold it in much more meaningful way, so that we can add more value to the community by bringing all of these like-minded people at a single platform, and just just bringing all those values together, so that it essentially helps us to grow, and not just grow alone, but grow together with others as well. So kind of a little side story about on conferences, but feel free to ask if you have any questions around it.
That was awesome. I mean, the first conference I attended was GitHub Field Day last year, the virtual one, and then of course GitHub Field Day this year, and one or two others, and those were a really nice experience. Very different from the traditional style conferences, and I loved it. So you should also probably try unconferences and uh, try to think about what Siddharth said. They are also just as awesome. So another question. Oh, so before I move on, I see Prasad has had his hand raised. So would you want to go on? Probably something to share or ask. Okay. I guess not. Okay. I guess not. Probably some glitch from his end. We can come back to Prasad later. Uh, but so next up, we have another question, and so this question I had is from Ashwin, and so Ashwin, would you like to walk us through some tips or frameworks to build probably a talk or a workshop? If you are the one who's probably building a talk or a workshop to give at a conference, how would you go about it? If you could give a very brief highlight about it.
Sure. I really like that question because as beginners, we are super energetic to showcase how we want to, express our idea, which is great. But following a proper structure can really have a big impact because remember, not everyone is like you, and there's a mixed variety of audience. So having a structure definitely helps. What I generally try to follow is pretty standard. If you're giving a talk, introduce yourself, set some context. Uh, if you're talking about any technology, just think of the audience first. Put yourself in the audience position. Do they know about this? So question yourself. If they yes, if they don't, can you add a little bit of context before you talk about that particular thing? Assuming there might be some people who don't understand some parts of your talk. If you don't have time, can you set some way so they can approach you, ask you after the talk has ended? Now this is pretty important, but I would personally recommend if you're adding images or anything, it's very good idea to add sources to your images, references to the links that you're adding. If you're quoting someone, if you're adding an image shot by someone or anything like that, it's it's pretty often and easy to miss, but it makes a huge difference as a speaker to quote someone whose resources you are using. uh, Apart from that, it is okay if you are unable to have a great closing. A lot of people focus so much to, you know, on the content that they want all of the content to be squished in the time that they have, rather than focus on make sure that the audience is understanding why are you writing something. So when I write CFPs, the way that I write them is something like this. So instead of writing paragraphs, I try to keep bullet points that I will be talking about these things, and the audience will walk away with with something that I put in there. So that last line, the audience will walk away with this, is super important. So keeping that in mind is crucial. Sometimes it's so often that you are making slides and you're planning the structure of your talk, and you just get carried away with so much that you have, that it is just too overwhelming for a listener to understand. So keeping in mind that what do you want the listeners to walk away with is super important, and it keeps a hold of how much you want to share in that single talk. So having a limited set of content, but making sure most of the audience, if not all, understand it. And if they don't understand it, how can they reach out to you? So, at the end, you want to share your socials or how you can reach out to it, or sharing the PPTs themselves. That is a really good idea. So personally, I upload the PPTs, or if I make it in Canva or Google Slides, I make sure it's already uploaded and hyperlink is in the slide or on the conference talk itself. That is super important because people will forget to reach out to you. You have to make sure that it is accessible for them to reach out to you. Otherwise, it's going to be like any other talk. If you have been to talks, or if you haven't, people attend a lot of talks and only recall few of them, and those are the ones which are well structured, easy to reach out to the speakers, because you're not expected, as an audience, you're not expected to know everything from a single talk, right? We are all humans. So it's important to have that human touch, and making sure that, okay, yeah, there are things that people might forget after listening to this talk. So how can I make it more easy to understand, or more easy to recall, or more easy to reach back again? So these are a couple of tips that I definitely keep in mind. Apart from the structure, every conference has set. So for KubeCon, they recommend using their slides, and adding dedicated links if you are giving a certain type of sub conference in that. So apart from that, these are really good points that help leaving a really impactful talk, or talk, or any workshop that you want.
That makes a lot of sense, and I have given quite a few talks, and I would definitely second that. Thinking about all the other aspects and just getting the best demo out there, getting the best, trying to question all the content, and I've done that. I'm embarrassed about that. Try to speed up stuff and all of that. I've done that, but there is definitely a lot more other than just getting the best demo out there, or just trying to cover every single thing in your talk. So you should also think about all of these other aspects. I would definitely second that. So
On that,
finally,
so
yeah,
one more
God,
thing. Yeah. So, one more thing I want to add is it's okay to add your personal touch into your talk. I like adding one or two slides of memes. I've seen people who like to make a talk in the form of a story. If you feel like that's your thing, that is great. Add your personality into it, and people will remember this talk. So, that's one thing to definitely go ahead.
sure. That is something you should definitely do. So finally, we have the last question. Since you're coming pretty close to the end, but we'll leave it up for anyone to come in and ask questions. Though not all panelists might be here, since we'll be at the end soon. But the last question to all panelists is: I just want to know your fun tech conference stories. It could be something embarrassing, could be something fun, could be something crazy. I mean, I just want to know about your best experiences. Bill, would you like to go first?
Sure. I think my best experience was actually something that I organized around it. So I really like biking. And so before the conference at KubeCon, a couple times I organized a group to go out biking. And we get a couple people, we'd go out for a nice bike ride and then we'd come back. And that's actually funny because it's how I first met my current boss was actually, or I organized these bike rides and she's actually a big biker. And that's how I met my boss, Liz. And so conferences are a great way to meet in person. And it doesn't always have to be about the technology. It can also be about other interests that you have. And then maybe later on that person be help out and who knows, maybe they'll get you a job later. So for me, conferences are all about meeting people. I think that's what you should really take advantage of when you go there.
Awesome. I think other people have caught on your nice idea of going to biking. I was at another conference and we had an official time slot in the schedule for like a early morning biking tour. Anyone who wants to join in. So I think other people have caught on your idea. That's an awesome idea. Siddharth, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. Personally, for me as well, it was more, the best experience I have had with conferences was like when I was part of it as a team or, organizing it by myself. So, of course, I've been speaking a lot about field days, so I'm not going to speak once again about it. But I've been involved with Angular conference here in India, that has been a crazy experience for me. I got to learn a lot, personally because I still have a lot of events to host in person, especially, in coming years. And getting started is always something I believe in. And this was like my first ever conference as a volunteering team member. So that was a great one. I've been quite looking forward to that. I learned a lot of logistical things, a lot of behind the scenes, and so many other things. So for me, the best experience is about when I learned a lot, and I have this habit of observing things and asking questions, a lot of questions actually, and to different set of people, even basic questions, because I feel that that allows me to push my imagination in a way that makes me even more creative. So that has been the thing. I'm quite looking forward to go attend React India upcoming, like coming weekend. Not this one, next to next weekend. Uh, we are sponsoring that, and I'm quite looking forward with all the talks, the lightning talk workshops, the booth we are gonna run, all the awesome surprise activities we are planned, and just going out and interacting with the folks out there. So all of these is like a great experience at the end of the day, because no matter what role you go to the conference, be it a volunteer, attendee, speaker, organizer, sponsor, there's always a chance of learning, interacting, collaborating, and I personally look up to all of these things a lot. I feel that this should never stop, no matter how many conferences you have done, no matter at what role you are joining that conference with. Just make sure you make the most out of it, because it's not the end. There's like a lot of things which are coming up ahead for you, and just think that this is just the beginning. This will definitely take you in for the like take you ahead in the longer run. And once you are ahead 5-10 years, you will remember these days that you were when you used to experience conferences in such ways. I personally still remember my old days when, like, 4 years back, when I just started. Who was I? Who was I, like, in that? I can't even imagine that that person who started 4 years back could have done a lot today. So there's still a lot to do, but when we compare with ourselves, we see how better we have become. So yeah, just have that thing in your mind. There's no saturation point which will come across. There will always be something to work upon to become better on top of something. So yeah, just keep doing that, and rest all you all already know. We have been talking in this space for so long. But yeah, thanks a lot, Rishik, for having me.
Sure. Those were some great insights. I definitely second that. And the same question to Ashwin as well. Um, yeah,
Yeah, I mean, my some of my best takeaways from conferences, I guess it would first would be Open Source Summit, my first in-person conference, not in India. So a lot of things together. So the first thing that you get, I realized is how little I know. Uh, Once you go out there, so you realize how little you know, and that really leaves you open for so much to take in, and it really feels good to be a beginner, and it really feels good to absorb so much. At the same time, whatever I knew, when I shared it, I realized people wanted to hear it, and people did not know about it. So that really made me feel welcome, inclusive as a beginner, as a first timer, sitting with folks and realizing that they are like one of the folks who have made huge impact in the community. I was just sitting in a meetup and I realized it's Matt Butcher, the creator of him, and I'm sitting in another breakout room just talking with someone. And when I came to know, they're so nice and they're just something else. They've done this big impact in the community, and it just feels so welcoming. And it never feels that there's a you know line of differentiation, or it doesn't feel like it was never meant for you. It always feels like, oh, you belong here, and it is great. It was a great experience apart from tech. Great activities on the sides. Austin is great. I love the people of Austin. The second one was MLH HackCon. That was quite cool. Like, if I had to say, just imagine the perfect summer camp and add that to a conference. That's literally MLH HackCon. It was amazing. It was a great experience. Got to meet great people. Had proper camping activities like campfire. We had pool. We had great camp activities, great food, and yeah, it was pretty cool. So that attend conferences, folks. You will get something out of it. Trust me. So keep applying for it. It's okay if your CFP does not get accepted. Apply for scholarship if you are eligible. Keep trying, and you won't regret it.
awesome. So that was nice. And interestingly, I couldn't go to Hackon because I was moving to the Americas, and right now I can't attend the other Hackon which is happening in India because I will have already moved to Americas. That's pretty crazy, but I completely second that. Having the experience, getting to know the feeling that you have a lot to learn is definitely a nice feeling. Siddharth, would you like to go next? After which we'll come to the end of all the pre-planned questions.
Yeah, sure. Just would like to add one more thing over here. I When Ashwin mentioned about Hackon, I remember a few of the conferences I was part of, which personally, which helped me a lot
So,
personally
which is
to
physical and on
grow.
India?
I am not sure where that sound
Oh,
is
I
coming
think
from. Okay,
yeah,
now
I'll
it's all good.
just okay,
Okay,
cool. Yeah.
so I was saying, like, so I've been part of like HackCon since like past two years, I guess. And like first year it was as an attendee, and the very next year I got to become as a speaker over there. So the transition from an attendee to a speaker at MLH HackCon was an extraordinary experience. Of course, the same story for me this year. I wasn't able to travel to US because I didn't got my visa slot, but that's fine. I guess there are many more years upcoming ahead. Hopefully we'll able to join over there. And other great conference which added impact to my career, I would say, was DevRelCon, because I still remember when I got to know about DevRel in my freshman year, there was not much awareness and people to talk with, and get some insights from. Very less people, uh, back in 2018, 19, and uh, growing from there, doing your own research, understanding the concept, what it is all about, getting in deep about to understand this term. Of course, DevRel is a very broad terminology. It's an umbrella term under which there have so many other roles and aspects which you should explore before you actually jump in. So it was kind of skeptic for me earlier, but DevRelCon came as a blessing for me. A lot of resources online, a lot of blogs, people sharing experiences. So I get to be part of those conferences, and after a while, I also got to speak at two of the DevRelCons. DevRelCon, like one which is the generic one, and the second one was DevRelCon Tokyo. So sharing the content on that stage along with other fellow DevRels added a lot of impact to my career as well, while I'm growing and learning every moment. So yeah, I'm quite looking forward to DevRelCon Prague coming this December. Hopefully, I'll be able to join in person this year. So if you're going there, let's meet there. But yeah, pretty much.
Oh,
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Ishu.
uh, yeah, DevRelCon Prague. Fingers crossed for that. I applied a CFP for that as well. So yeah, just fingers crossed. So those were all. That was the end of all the pre-planned questions. And thank you so much, Bill, Siddharth, and Ashwin. I learned quite a lot, even though I've been to quite a few conferences, and I'll definitely think that the folks over here would have learned quite a lot as well. So thanks so much. And those were the end of pre-planned questions. If you have something else to get to, all the panelists, please feel free to. But we'll put the space on just 5 more minutes. If anyone else wants to share something or ask something, I'll be around for 5 more minutes. So I see Roy has raised his hand. Oh, he's not here. Okay. Uh, uh, I see Vamshi has requested to speak. So yeah, Vamshi, go on. Oh, was I muted? Oh, man, shoot. I was saying a huge
No,
thanks
no,
to
Rishit,
Bill, Siddharth, and Ashwin.
we can hear you. You weren't on mute.
Okay, I guess Twitter Spaces never fails to amaze me. But yeah, thanks so much, and feel free to get to any other work you might have. That was all for the pre-planned questions. Uh, I'll keep the space on for 5 more minutes if anyone else wants to ask, but the panelists are free to. Please feel free to get on to something else if you have something. I see Roy has asked to speak. Yeah, please go on. Okay, I guess not. But oh, okay.
Okay, yes, this is Roy calling from Nigeria. So I really want to ask, what is happening in India? Like with this conference, I don't really understand it.
Sorry, but I couldn't really get the question. Maybe so, maybe some voice issues over there. But if someone else wants to come on the stage, feel free to. I'll keep the space on for 3 more minutes, and um, yeah, that will be it. If you want to ask something, share anything, feel free to request to come on stage. If not, this will be the end of the space. Okay, okay. I guess then this is it. Thank you all for tuning in, and I hope you learned something from this space just as much as I did. And thank you so much. See you until next time. Bye.